Hello. 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 Hello, my name is Matthew West, and I'm the host of this podcast. It's called the Matthew West Podcast. I really hope you like it.
Hello, his name is Matthew West, and he's the host of this podcast. It's called the Matthew West Podcast. He really hopes you like it.
I really hope you like it.
Hey guys, it's Matthew West here. Welcome to another episode of my podcast, the Matthew West Podcast. I really hope you like it. Thank you for joining me today. Happy October to you. I am still celebrating and basking in the excitement and the glow of the release of my shiny brand new album, Don't Stop Praying. And I want to thank you all so much for the support, the kindness, for listening, for streaming, for sharing it with people. I hope the songs are speaking to you just the way that I felt like the Lord was speaking to me when I wrote them. So the album is officially 1 week old. It's just a little baby album. And I love it. I'm proud of it. And I hope you guys are enjoying it. Thanks for letting my songs be part of your life. I hope you're coming to see me on tour this fall. The Don't Stop Praying tour is hitting 17 cities across the country. So it's a smaller tour, but we're excited to hopefully make a big impact and have some pretty powerful nights of worship and prayer together with you. So don't miss it. Some tickets are still available at MatthewWest.com. Also, did you know that I released a Christmas book? I know. I've heard it from many of you say, Matthew, it's too soon to talk about Christmas. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. My publisher decided they wanted to release my Christmas book early in the fall so that it was available and ready for everybody to get it in time for Christmas. So you don't have to buy it right now. Matter of fact, here's how much I don't care if you buy it right now. I created a website called don'tbuybook.com for all the people who are anti-Christmas anything until after they've had several pumpkin spice lattes. So go to don'tbuybook.com and, don't buy the book. All right? That's a real place. Go check it out. Lots of good stuff going on, but today's conversation is the real good stuff. This artist is actually featured on the Don't Stop Praying album. I love his voice so much. I first heard him on a song called Come Jesus Come. And then I started just becoming a huge fan of the music he's writing, the way that he's leading worship. Then I got to hear his story, and I thought, I need everybody on my podcast to hear his testimony too. So let's go to the Story House with Stephen McWhirter. Tell me where you are right now. You just showed me a little.
I'm in the third heaven. No, I am in Carol Cymbala's office. Jim and Carol Cymbala, Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir in Brooklyn this weekend. I'm actually in her office, surrounded by Dove Awards and Grammy awards
From the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir.
From the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir. It's pretty wild.
And tell us what you're doing there.
I'm donating blood. No, I'm here. I'm here singing "Come Jesus Come" with them this weekend. They asked me to come and be on their new record. It's coming out with the choir, and it's pretty exciting, man. I'm honored to be a part of it, humbled.
Do they record right in the church or in a studio?
Yes.
Or?
So tonight where we are, there's a special service that's just all music. And so people will come and pack this place out, and I'll get to sing with that choir. It's going to be fun.
Jim Cymbala from the Brooklyn Tabernacle wrote a book years ago called Fresh Wind, Fresh Fire that woke this burned out preacher's kid heart up. It woke me up.
Join the club.
You too?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. I read that. Well, I listened to the audiobook.
Is that your style of reading?
Oh, man. It's so terrible. But, I listened to it, and it was a big, big deal. Really impacted me.
Yeah, me too.
So this is really big for me to be here with them. I've come here before, and the first time they invited me early this year, I was immediately this is so crazy, and I'm so humbled a bit to be here. But when they put me in this office, I said, hey, I got to do a podcast with my friend and Matthew, and they said, okay, cool, go in this office right here. And I didn't know they were putting me in Karen's office with all these
Which is so funny because people might not realize when we go on tour as Christian artists or worship leaders, our dressing rooms a lot of times are the pastor's office or
true, man.
Or
if we're lucky.
Yeah, because otherwise it's the diaper room or the, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The
good.
one time I walked into my dressing room and it was like the sign on the door. It was like the nursing mother's room. I was like, oh, come on, guys, come on. I don't want to be in that room.
That seemed right for you, actually. I think that's right.
They're like, this guy looks like a big
This is good.
crybaby.
This is good.
But can you believe the journey that your song "Come Jesus Come" has made, literally around the world and back again? I mean, are you even blown
Crazy.
away, or did you see this? Just tell me what goes through your mind and your heart when you think, okay, tonight I'm singing with the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir. The song's been recorded now in multiple languages. It's been on the radio. The great CeCe Winans recorded it. It's been sung in churches. I was backstage getting ready. I was headlining a festival in Wisconsin, and at 2 p.m., a worship band was on stage leading the crowd in your song. And I took a video of it, and I just thought that was so cool. So let's just talk about how you're feeling and in what you've seen God do in breathing fresh wind and fresh fire, to steal Jim Cymbala's words, through a song that God inspired you to write.
It's funny when you said it all like that. I went, "Oh wow, that is crazy. That's a lot." And it's funny. The song, when people say, "I love your new song, Come Jesus Come," it's hilarious to me because it's 4 years old.
Yeah.
And we literally, the idea for the song started in my basement at the beginning of the pandemic, where it was kind of made sense to say, "Jesus, I need you to come," and I was literally sitting in my computer in my keyboard piano, and I had my Bible open, and I was just reading, and I got to the end of Revelation, Revelation 22:17, where it says, "The Spirit and the bride says, 'Come.' Let everyone who hears say, 'Come.'" Right after that, Jesus says, "I'm coming soon." And it's the last thing written in the whole Bible, which, by the way, you just released a song called
Last Page of the Bible,
by the way.
baby.
This was literally the last page of the Bible. So, I realized in that moment I wasn't very good at longing for Jesus to return. I think I thought about I imagine those people on the street corners with signs painted on them that says "The end is nigh," right? Like people that like, that's not me. That's not who I am. But I started realizing that this is the longing of the heart of the Father for Jesus to return. It's the ultimate thing, right? It's the thing. In the New Testament, it references the cross 48 times, which is awesome. Thank you, Jesus, for the cross. But it references the return of Jesus 318 times. That's crazy. That's a lot more. And just perhaps it's important, right? And I think the thing about it was I didn't realize is that when you long for Jesus to return, like the disciples did, because they constantly said stuff like, Paul in Philippians 3:20, "We're not citizens of this world, but we're citizens of heaven, and we eagerly anticipate the return of our Lord," right? I think what I didn't get was that when you actually long for Jesus to return, you love people better towards that day,
Wow.
here and now. And you build things that matter more here and now when you're doing it towards that. Just everything takes on a different light. It doesn't make you so heavenly minded, so heavenly minded you're no earthly good. It
Wow.
actually,
Yeah.
like Colossians 3 says, "Set your mind above where Christ is seated." So you could only be so heavenly minded you're more earthly good. You actually love people better, and you're better at this world, here in this world, than you ever would be.
Yeah, that's so true.
And so I don't know, it just really shifted my mind. So even the way when this song came out, I wasn't thinking this is going to be a hit. I was literally like, I want to get better at this, and I want to write a song that I could sing to him, that I mean, and that actually is like joining with his spirit.
What does it take? Like, what does it make you think that it was 4 years before the song really wound up like hitting people's ears and having the chance to impact their hearts? Because that's a bit uncommon, right? I mean, but you know what I mean? Like, so why do you think now? I guess because the song didn't change from what it was 4 years ago. What is going on right now that would make people, circulate this song the way they are?
I would love to give you the super profound, amazing answer. And maybe this is a super profound, amazing answer. His ways are not my ways. I have no idea. I don't know why. I would venture to say that if in all of our lives, in whoever you are listening to this, whatever you're doing, often, if you really want what Jesus wants for your life, like you really are like, Lord, I want your will, and you mean it, and you keep hitting brick walls sometimes, perhaps it's because your character's not ready for your destiny. And the Lord loved you too much when you really want what he wants to allow you to get there before, because you'll make yourself miserable and everyone around you miserable. I would say my character wasn't ready. I look
Wow.
back constantly, don't you? I constantly look back, even just years back, go, wow, that was the way I thought about that wasn't quite right, you know?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, I love the honesty in that answer, because I was thinking more about like what has shifted in our world around you, not and you're taking personal inventory and saying like, hey, you know what? The Lord had to do a work in my life, which is, and I mean, your testimony is a powerful one. Let's talk about that a little bit. Like, obviously I love the way your knowledge of scripture, and you're clearly like a minister at heart. Like you've got this, and I've gotten the chance to write songs with you, and just you're one of my favorite singers. Like your voice is just unbelievably off the charts, gifted, anointed. Whether you're releasing one of your acoustic videos, or whether you're on the radio, or whether you're singing "Oh Holy Night" in Bethlehem or wherever you were that went viral, it just, people stop and go, "Who is that singing?" And you've had a long journey to get to where you are today. Can we talk a little bit about the story that's led you to this place where you're now, preaching and singing about Jesus and celebrating the fact that your eternity is in heaven?
First off, that was a lot of really nice things you just said really fast, and then you just shifted gears
Well,
like I'm not allowed to say something.
do you
That
want?
was really sweet of you.
I'll
That
write
was
them
kind.
down so you can really ponder them later.
Half of these are true. No, you're a sweet guy, man. Thank you. Yeah, I was raised an evangelist son. My dad was a pastor, or evangelist, traveling evangelist. And the guy that I saw behind a pulpit and the one I saw in private were two different people. I would literally see my dad get up, preach about Jesus, but behind closed doors, I would see him physically abuse my mom. And so at a very young age, I was like, man, if God's real, he's not good. And I don't want anything to do with this Jesus guy. So around 11 years old, I was smoking, drinking marijuana. By 15, it's cocaine, pills, that kind of stuff. I'm selling drugs. By the time I'm 17, I'm a full out crystal meth addict. I'm using crystal meth every day for over 6 years. During this time of my life, I'm the guy that hates Jesus, hates Christians, like profoundly, right? If you'd have met me then, you'd have pointed at me and said, if there was ever an enemy of the cross, it's this guy, right? And people were praying for me. I always say, like, that kind of prayer where you're just like, you don't know why, you just start crying when you're thinking about that person and you start praying. I believe, for anyone hearing this, if you ever feel that way about somebody, I'm convinced that's the Holy Spirit, like, wooing you to pray for that person. There's something powerful about you coming before the Lord and praying for that person. There's a reason why the Lord went to Ananias for Paul. There's a reason why just certain people, he puts it on their hearts, and there's something he wants to do in you as much as he wants to do something through you. And there were people praying for me like that. And somebody came and gave me this book called The Case for Christ by Lee Strobel. Do you know what I'm talking about? Yeah. And Lee's, obviously, if you've never heard of the book, Lee was like an atheist investigative journalist, by the way, for the Chicago Tribune. And his wife became a believer, and he was like, I don't think so. Went out to disprove it all, ends up finding out it's all real, gives his life to Jesus, becomes a prolific author and evangelist to the gospel to this day. Anyways, they give me this book. Having told you how much I hated Christianity, this is the parting of the Red Sea moment, because when they offered me the book, I wasn't like, didn't cause a scene, like kick him out of my house. I was like, cool, whatever, right? Threw it in my bedroom. Fast forward 3 o'clock in the morning. I've literally got drugs on the side table next to me. Nobody's playing a piano softly and quietly in the corner, right? It's seemingly the most impossible place for someone to get saved. But I'm in this bed and I'm reading this book about Jesus. And, I just know that the Lord's there. Like, I know he's in the room. I know he's there. I don't know how else to explain it. We begin to have this internal dialogue, right? Where I'm like, I want to give you my life. I want to quit all this addiction, all this darkness, all this suppression, all this that I've known for so long. I mean, at this point in my journey, I had been in addiction for over 11 years. I literally thought to myself, you will die at a young age because you can't quit, and being okay with it. This is literally where I was. So when I thought these things, I was like, Lord, I want to. There's no way I can give you my life. I want to, but I can't imagine being somebody else. It's impossible. And I just remember this thought from the Lord. I'm convinced, because I just didn't think like this, right? I just had this thought from the Lord that was, you won't do it, I'll do it, which is like that Ephesians 2:8 grace. It's that you're saved by grace. This isn't something you can boast about, but a work of God. But there is something we can do. John 6:29. I feel like I'm just quoting the Bible, but that's okay. I don't have an original thought that's worth mentioning. So John 6:29 says, but the only work the Father asks of you is to believe. And in that moment, that's what I did. I believed him. I took him at his word. I believed him like I believe I'm breathing air right now. Fell on my knees, gave my life to Jesus, went from addiction to redemption, from meth addict to worship leader, because it's all real, bro. Every bit of it.
Dude, that is unbelievable.
And I remember like getting saved and being like, hey, we can't live together. I'm moving out. I'm going to go stay with a friend, all this kind of stuff. And I think the whole consensus amongst all of my so-called friends at the time and her was, are you high? Are you okay? What is going on? Took them all a minute, I think, to realize that I meant it and that something had changed. Her and I, we were engaged, and what's crazy is all that stuff I told you about my dad. One of the things the Lord led me to was to go to my dad and tell him, which, by the way, just for some context, my dad stopped physically abusing my mom when I was like around 11, which I don't condone. If you hear this and you're in an unsafe situation, get safe. You know what I mean? But for whatever reason, my mom stayed. I'm not a big fan of it, but she stuck it out. And my dad never touched her again. But to be, in all honesty, I never got over it. So one things I felt like the Lord had me do after I became a believer, which was the hardest thing I think I've ever done in my life, was go to my dad and forgive him. And it was weird because it's not one of those things where it wasn't like he's asked for forgiveness, so I'll forgive him. It was, I think I went in his room and it was so awkward. It was one of the most painful moments of my life. Like, there was no like bird on my shoulder and quiet, and like beams of light shining in. I think I just said, hey, look, I forgive you for all this stuff. And he just looked at me like a deer in headlights. And that was really it. It's not a magical Disney moment, okay? But something happened that day in me. Something that broke that the Lord wanted to do in that moment. Now, this is how forgiveness works, right? You tear up the debt, and it's on the other person to do their part. But when you tear up the debt, like Jesus tore up the debt with us, we walk away, right? And we leave the rest in His hands. And that was really what we learned in that moment, and moved forward, man. It was crazy. Just one thing like that after another.
Steven, when you were battling addiction, like, were you doing music at the time still, like on your own? Like, because I mean,
when I was
a voice like yours, I'm like, you were always singing, right?
I was in metal bands like when I was a teenager and doing a lot of drugs, and it was all like screaming my head off.
Really, just straight up screaming?
Screaming. Yeah, it's like roll, like that kind of stuff. People beating each other up in front of us on the stage. That's what I did throughout most of my teens.
Were you in bands that had names, like official bands, or like do you remember any band names?
None that anybody would find, and none that I'm going to let anybody try to find. I think it was like Die As One was one of the ones I was in. I don't think you can find it.
Die As One?
Yeah. Point
Wow.
is, you'll never find it.
Okay. All right. All right.
But this is funny. I went from that to, even during these times of kind of doing like addiction and stuff, I decided I was going to try to learn how to sing and write music, and I got an acoustic guitar and I learned how to play some stuff, and it was all kind of singer songwritery stuff, and it was this band called Valley whatever, and I put out this singer songwritery like alt country record, like really young, like 20s, and I had a local paper review it, and the journalist wrote, "This guy needs to learn how to sing." And
What?
it's so great. I love that exists. It's one of my favorite things. Now, at the time, it was brutal, right? I was like crushed, but it's one of my favorite things to look back on. And a lot of that, like I could have gave up, but kept going.
Man, that guy needs to learn how to understand what a
No,
good
he was
singer.
right. It was bad then. It's funny. I mean, be encouraged. You know what? You can get a bad review. You can sound terrible, and who knows what God will do.
That's
you know?
pretty incredible. What a great story. I tell you what, man, there's such a fire in your vocals when you sing now. So whatever you did to go from screaming in heavy metal bands to lifting up your voice at the Brooklyn Tabernacle, look what God can do. That's pretty incredible. And you're prolific too, in that you're always writing new songs, and I always feel that way, like a prolific songwriter. So I see it when I know it, just somebody who lives to like I want to write another song tomorrow. Like, you get excited about that. And I feel like one day we got together, we wrote like 2 songs in a day, because it was like, let's go.
Yeah.
But you not only write songs all the time, but you record and release songs with a frequency that is a really unique process. And for those who don't follow you yet on your YouTube is crushing. Just can you tell everybody your official YouTube page?
Well, the hard part is it's my name, but it's Stephen McWhirter. If you look up Stephen McWhirter on YouTube, but what's better is you just put in "Come Jesus Come," and you'll find me. That's even better. Like, I changed my website to worshipjesus.life, because I'm just like, people are probably not going to spell my name right, but that'll get them there.
Okay.
But yeah, we put out 2 songs a week, every week. I'll put out like just me with acoustic at home, just worshiping Jesus. We go in the studio in a month, and do like 6 songs in a day. We'll release those over a month with a band. We record live, and we film it all, record it all. I edit it, I mix it, and just do my best to put it. I'm not bragging. Now, when you listen to it, you go, "Oh yeah, I could tell he mixed that."
No,
no, I'm just at home trying to figure it out.
You're
think back
a
in my
machine.
20s,
You're a machine.
back in my teens, I was the guy who was like, we need a flyer for a concert, and so I learned how to make one, and that part of me is never like left, right?
I love that, though.
Couldn't
I think that's exciting, and I think it's fun for people to be able to go and listen to new music that you're writing, and kind of in real time. Sometimes I feel like I'll write a song and I feel like it was for that moment, and then 6 months later it's like, no, I wanted to release it that day. You know what I mean? And I feel like you're getting
true.
awful close to that type of reality, and kind of reinventing things.
Yeah, and what's fun about it is I just put it out, and then you can kind of pay attention to what God's breathing on. And then you can kind of come at that one and come more at it from the normal release cycle of putting it out in a bigger way, maybe a little bit of a better recording. So it's not like one way's right and one way's wrong.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just that it's another way to do it. Because not everybody is geared to do it that way. Not everybody's geared to do it. Like, we are going on tour with the time of this playing, we'll be on tour with Maverick City and opening up. And because I was going to be gone for 2 months and I can't film, we have to do 26 videos before I leave town. So we recorded 12 videos in one day recently.
Was your
Covers
voice
and all.
just
So we did
white?
half the day with the band, and then a choir came in that night, and just me and a piano player did 6 songs with the choir. And then we take all those home, and I'll edit them all later and stuff. But
Dude,
it's a lot of fun. I could be roofing. This isn't that bad. I've got it made, right?
Well, I just think it's awesome too, because I think a lot of times we're too precious with the music before we actually share it with the people. And so for those out there listening to this podcast, like when you get to follow along with what the Lord's doing in Stephen's life, the outpouring of it is clearly in his music, but you're getting to hear it somewhat in real time, like, and getting to hear even the development of the songs. Like, so, the songs are undoubtedly going to sound different. They're going to evolve over time. Like you said, you might do a studio recording that follows. So, and speaking of which, you're on tour with Maverick City right now. People can find out how to get tickets to come and see you and worship with you at worshipjesus.life. That's your official website. Is that right?
Yep. Yep.
And people, if they've picked up a copy of my record that just came out last week, the Don't Stop Praying album features one of my favorite singers, Stephen McWhirter. I had to bring you in on the song Breakthrough's Coming, and you crushed it.
Dude.
You crushed it. I want to do a record.
Oh, that song. I'm sorry I crushed it. I didn't mean to.
No, I
meant
mean
to do a
that
good
positively.
job.
That's what the kids say, Stephen. That's what the kids say when
You
someone did a
killed
good
it. You
job.
crushed it. You made everybody sick. Hey man, I got that song. I was like, I can't believe he's asking me to sing on the song. This song is so good.
Oh, thank
How
you.
I know it's good is that when I hear it, I immediately am mad that I didn't write it. You know what I'm talking about?
Hey, you know what I want to do, though? I would love to take that song. I was going to talk to you about this after the interview, but now that we're talking about it, I would love to take that song, but run it backwards through your process and do a version of it together with your, with your choir and people. Like, wouldn't that be kind of cool?
Yeah, you should come to the studio in Louisville one day. We'll just sit and have fun.
Dude, I think that would be amazing. I think people would really love to hear a version like that. But they can hear Stephen's voice on Breakthrough's coming, and then you've got obviously music coming out what'd you say? Tell me the frequency one more time so people know.
So right now we're doing 2 songs a week on YouTube. And we have a bunch of stuff on this grouped app, or if you just go to worshipjesus.live, you can stream it all.
Love it.
But then we're going to start releasing a minimum of 2 songs a month on Spotify and stuff too, just because why not?
Dude, I've heard some of the songs that you've been writing, and I've heard some of the songs that you're getting ready to put out, and people just get ready because these songs are on fire. And man, I'm just so excited. I feel like and don't take offense to this reference, but when I'm talking about like pure vocal quality, but also like just vibe, but like it's like you're the Chris Stapleton of worship. I don't, because like it's just like this unbelievably pure,
why would I be mad about that?
singer.
You just named like one of the greatest singers ever.
I just, sometimes people don't like comparisons, but because it's like you hear this voice and then you see this guy and you come on stage, you got this beard, you got these tattoos, you got these glasses, you're like this, you could be in a screamo band, but but you're like freaking just bringing these unbelievable worship songs. I know you're doing awesome on the Maverick City tour, and I'm excited to see what's ahead for you. But just know that I'm cheering you on, and I wanted to make sure that anybody who listens to my podcast knows your name and connects the dots with your name, and not just Come Jesus Come, because you got way more songs than that. But it's just awesome to see that the Lord, in his own perfect timing, the work that he's done in your life, for you to share your story with honesty and vulnerability, for you to share that you weren't quite ready when you wrote that song, but 4 years later, God knew the right time for you and your heart and for what it was going to do. Because this world right now more than ever, we're looking and we go, it's no secret this is a broken place we're living in. So that longing for heaven is something that the believers feel. I feel like perhaps now more than ever. And that song verbalizes what that aching in our hearts is. When we look around, we don't need to look around very long to remember, this world is not our home. And your song gives us the words to long for heaven and to ache for heaven and to be reminded that our ultimate home is a place where there is no more sorrow, no more division, no more tears, no more pain. So thank you for that soundtrack that gives us that hope.
Gosh. This is the best interview I've ever done.
That's it.
Because you've said so many nice things about me.
It's like that old Saturday Night Live sketch with Stuart Smalley where I give you daily affirmations. You're good enough. You're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you, Steven.
You're right. You're right.
Hey.
Thank you, Matt. I love you, buddy.
Go, and you're the only
great.
person that I let call me Matt, by the way. I let call me Matt. Everybody else has to say Matthew.
Matthew, I gotta say, I just can't do it.
No, call me Matt. You're
I'm
the
sorry.
one. You
I'm
get
sorry.
permission.
And hey, it's endearing. One of my best friends I ever had, his name was Matt Davidson, and I loved Matt. Matt was like one of my best friends ever. This is on a sad note. I'm sorry to say it, but he died in a car wreck.
Oh.
But he was one of my favorite people on the planet, and I miss him dearly. And the fact that I get to call you Matt, that's pretty special.
Well, then
See?
Let it be so, and let it continue that way. I'm cheering you on. Go sing. Go crush it with the Brooklyn Tabernacle Choir. And I mean crush
Thanks,
it in a
buddy.
good way, okay, bud?
I will, brother. Appreciate you guys. See ya.
He's my dad, and he gives good advice. And that's why this segment's called Dadvice.
He is my dad, and he gives good advice. And that's why this segment is called Dadvice.
Dad, thanks for joining me. Let's dive in. Send us home with some encouragement.
Okay, I've got it again today. We're going to talk about what a friend we have in Jesus. Question here, when we hear the word friend, many things come to our mind. What comes to your mind? Maybe even a specific person comes to mind. Well, for me, two people. First, my wife, and then a friend that God gave me when I first started in the ministry, pastoring a church in Downers Grove, Illinois. I was 24 years old, and he said, I'm a man named Al, and he's still been with me. I still get together with him to this day. He's been such a friend and an encourager. A friend is someone who shares your interests, you enjoy each other's company, and a person you could trust and depend on. Sometimes friends walk away and we are left feeling alone, but we are not completely alone. Jesus never leaves our side. He is the God who stays. Like how I got that in?
Nicely done.
All right. The Bible tells us that Jesus is our friend. He sticks closer than a brother. He laid down his life for us. This reminds me of the old hymn that I sang as a child and still being sung today. What a friend we have in Jesus. What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. And some of the songs that I gravitate to a lot that you write, Matthew, are when you bring out some hymns that you heard as a little kid sitting in your dad's church. And now years later, they take a seat in your heart and God gives you music for them. So three things we need to know is Jesus is our friend. Jesus, friend of sinners. Loves us just as we are before we even come to him. Romans 5, 8, and 9. But God demonstrates his love toward us, and that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. Jesus, faithful friend. He is always with us. Listens when we pray, counsels and comforts us when we struggle. God says in Hebrews 13:5, I will never leave you nor forsake you. And thirdly, Jesus, friend like no other. He died for us. John 15:13, greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. My advice today is to see Jesus as your best friend. We can talk to him every day and come to him with all of our worries and emptiness. When we meet him in prayer, the emptiness in our heart becomes filled with hope. The fear changes to courage. The heartbreak begins to heal. So remember the words of the hymn. What a privilege we have to carry everything to him in prayer. Don't stop praying.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dad.
All right.
That's our show for today. Thanks to my guest, Stephen McWhirter. Be sure to check out his music. Follow him on YouTube specifically. Like he said, type in Come Jesus Come. You'll find his official page. That guy's releasing new music all the time. You can stay in steady communication. That guy's amazing, man. And his testimony is so powerful, and he sings with such power. I hope you're loving the song that we sang together on my new record. It's called Breakthroughs Coming. Maybe you're out there and you're going, you know what? I need a breakthrough. Well, I hope that song can fire you up. Don't quit. Don't stop praying. I'm glad I didn't write the song Don't Quit Praying. That doesn't sound as good as Don't Stop Praying. You know what I'm saying? Because breakthrough's coming. That's another kind of prayer that we can pray. Prayers for breakthrough. And no matter how long you've been praying for that breakthrough, don't stop now, okay? Don't quit now. Keep praying. All right. Make the most of the one life you get. It's your story for his glory. See you next week.